And I'd like to introduce my boss, Craig Washington.
Thank you. Let's start by trying to figure out where everybody's from. Let's see, who came the farthest? Who is from, anybody from California? Really? Wow. You came from Riva. Gio? San Diego. All right. Wow. Good. I saw some people from Texas, Florida. No, well done. When we started this 4 years ago, we were in like a little room. There was 50 people in there. We thought it'd go like 30 minutes, and it lasted like 3 hours. So we're going to try not to do that. I think we've over the years have incorporated a lot of those questions into the brief, so we can kind of work our way through the brief and hopefully answer your questions before we get to the end. But of course, we'll stay for as long as we need to stay to answer any specific questions. Let's see. How many of you are members of the Alumni Association? That's great. That's great. We've been trying to improve the value of that membership, trying to offer different things in there to make sure that you get some value out of that. Nadine Smith is new to the staff, but she knows everybody in Annapolis, and she's getting us discounts at different locations. I ate at Brio the other night with my wife, Jan, where are you at? She's out there probably talking to one of the moms. Brio gives you 20% off if you've never been to Brio. Nice Italian restaurant. Just show them your membership card and you get 20% off. Oh, Mids get free chocolate chip cookies if you go there too. So we discount things. So just when you get back to your parents' clubs, please help us understand what we can do to make that value of membership even better. Most people join just for the photo program, then they try to figure out why to stay. What is the reason for me to stay? Typically they get something back out of it, discounts to go to tailgates or things like that, or the information and shipmates, and eventually they realize, I probably made money off this little membership, so we're just trying to encourage, that keeps the families connected to the Naval Academy after graduation, though, which was what we find to be very important. Let's do some trivia. How many alumni in the room? 1, 2, 3. All right, so you guys don't get to answer the first question. But what year was the Naval Academy founded?
1855.
I saw the lips moving over here. All right. How many midshipmen were in the first class? Let me see a hand. All right. No. No. How many midshipmen in the first class?
53.
What'd you say?
50.
50. Our folks from New Orleans that took care of us when we were down there for the Tulane game. All right. Another trick question. What year did that first class graduate?
1846.
1846. Good one. The school was only a 1-year school at the time. So I have a present for you. I can't count that far out. Doesn't mean I was left-handed. Does anybody here know what the USS Summers incident was? The mutiny. You're the alum though, okay? I can't go to you. USS Summers mutiny. Anybody know what that means? All right, I'm going to give it to you. Go ahead, Dad. No Googling. No Googling. He's Googling USS Summers over there. I'm definitely cutting him off. Okay. Anybody? Yeah, that's true. All right, so I'm not giving him a prize for it, though. 1842, USS Summers was off the coast of Africa doing some anti-piracy stuff, and there was a mutiny, and there was a midshipman on that cruise. Midshipmen used to train to become officers on those cruises, and he was involved in the mutiny, along with 2 enlisted sailors, and they ended up hanging the 3 of them for mutiny. But when the Summers came home, the father of that midshipman was waiting on the pier in New York for him, and he found out that his son had been hanged for mutiny. Turns out the father was the Secretary of War, Philip Spencer. So that kind of encouraged the military to get a little bit more formal in their education, which led to the founding of the Naval Academy 3 years later. So a little history there. In that class of 1845, one of the alumni, Edward Simpson, he ended up forming the Alumni Association 35 years later, and he has a direct descendant, 8 continuous year legacy classes, that the one just graduated last year in class 17, Liesel Sylvester, and her brother Jack, but it's 8th generation continuous legacy from Edward Simpson from the class of 1846. So we pay attention to that stuff. We try to inform, do a little trivia here and there. So you can find that stuff again through staying connected to the Alumni Association. So when hi Jan, it's my wife. As Evie said, I was the director of special events at the Naval Academy, so commissioning week, commissioning day was in my zone of responsibilities. And then we had 2 sons graduate from the Naval Academy. So we've been through this commissioning week a few times and seen it, struggled through it. I know you're all going to have a million questions. And this isn't going to be the answer to everything. This isn't like, how do I do it? So what we're hoping to do is just show you what it looks like, show you how busy it is, talk about the key events, and then you guys figure out on your own what's important to your family. It's like when you go to Disneyland and you have to try to hit all of the important things. Your wife wants to do It's a Small World. I don't want to do It's a Small World, but we're going to have to figure out how to get that done. There's some of that It's a Small World stuff in commissioning week, and you're going to have to try to figure out as a family if you can do that, because they can be some really long days, and you have to figure out physically what can you handle and what can't you handle, right? So we're going to kind of go through that. I've been through it on active duty. I've been through it as a retiree. I've been through it on 40 degree and rain, when it was so cold that you couldn't stand it. And I've been through it when it was 95 degrees and people were passing out from the heat. So there's a wide variety of experiences that we could talk about as we get through this. I want to lead off by just telling you a little bit about what the midshipmen are doing right now. How many 18 parents? Most of you. Okay. 19. Good. 20. Great. 21. Look at you. That's awesome. All right. Is there 22? Really? Well, you don't even get your permit to report package until April. I'll give you a pen. All right, he's answered a lot. So what are the first class doing right now? Well, it's 3-day weekend, so we're probably waking up from a hangover right now. What's that?
Track champion.
Track. There's a lot of athletes that are very busy right now, for sure.
Yeah.
We got some lacrosse today, too. We might get some snow by 3 or 4, right? So we gotta hope that stays off. Battalion receptions for all the first class. Just briefly what that's all about. You'll see some of the pictures if you watch the online. Have each battalion come over. They come over to Oba Hall and they meet the staff. We feed them, we give them beer and wine, and we talk to them about how the Alumni Association will be there for them, what services we provide for them after graduation. If they're in a jam, if their career's changing, if they need help mentoring, if they're getting married, if they're, lots of different things that we can help them with. So we kind of walk them through the Alumni Association, teach them about what they can expect after graduation, where they can turn to for advice. And that becomes critical for a very small portion of the class, but some of them things might not turn out exactly as they planned, right? We all get these little detours in life, and sometimes what you think is going to happen doesn't happen, and you get to a split in the road and you're not sure if I'm going to still be an aviator or now I'm going to be a SWO, or now I'm going to be in information warfare. You don't know. And when you're 22 years old and you don't have anybody really to turn to, that's what the Alumni Association will do. We can help them get the right people in front of them to get answers for them, help them navigate some of those difficult times in their life and what they're going to have to be next. They're doing community assignment dinners. You'll see that where all of the aviators go to this, or all the Marines go to that, and they bring in the flag officers from those communities, and they have a nice meal, and then they talk about the future of that community and what they can look forward to in the service. So they're nice events. You've probably heard they're all like scrambling right now to try to find the premier TAD assignments. Some aviators won't get to Pensacola until November. Nukes won't get down until September, mid-September. SWOs are getting out of here after 30 days of basket leave. But different people have different delays in reporting, and then they're all negotiating, where can I get the key TAD job that will be easiest, might have the most free time. Is anybody connected with Navy sailing in here? Good. Tell your kids don't go to sailing. That's the longest day out there. It's like 6 in the morning to 6 at night. They'll be miserable. Don't go to TAD sailing. So they're negotiating for the best TAD job they can find. Spring break, so I'm going to be honest really quickly, 9th to 18th of March. The Distinguished Graduate Award Ceremony will be pretty special this year. If you didn't hear, John McCain was selected, and there was 6 total distinguished graduates. It's a very nice ceremony. The mids get to hear some really unique stories about how people just like them and what they went on to do in their lives, and they come back and they talk about, goods and bads and the things that they experienced in their lives. They're pretty amazing stories, so we enjoy that weekend. Hockey, if you can afford it, tickets are like $175 a piece, I think, going in. They're pretty bad, yeah. Alumni mentoring. We've introduced this the last few years to midshipmen after spring break, where we showed them this tool that we have created. Class of '69 has sponsored this. They actually raised $2 million so that we'd have this system in place. When I describe it, it's going to sound an awful lot like online dating, because it kind of looks like that, where the midshipman goes in there and puts their profile of what they're like. I'm going to be a noob. I'm going to be an aviator. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a whatever. I'm interested in hiking, combative sports, and cooking. You brief what you're like, and then the mentoring system spits out a bunch of alumni that are just like you, but only a few years older. They'll only give them somebody that's 2 pay grade senior or 10 years max. So they'll typically get somebody that's not too far beyond what they're looking for, just a little bit older, and it's just like them, and they can start asking them questions. One of the mids that we sponsored, he was going through the MH-60 Sierra training command, and his assigned mentor was an instructor in MH-60 Sierras in the opposite coast. And he was able to walk through a lot of professional stuff. How do I prepare myself for this? A lot of unique opportunities to get advice from somebody who's just a little bit older than you. Not somebody that's 30 years removed or 50 years removed, somebody that's just a little bit removed. And in the class of 16 and 17, we have 700 young alumni that are waiting to be mentors for the class of 18. So it's a nice little system. It's up to them. We do not mandate anything. They choose. We just show them how to use the system if they would like it. So we'll go through that in the spring. I say that because they'll come to you and they'll say, I have no idea where to get information, right? I have no idea. I'm stumped on this one. There's tools, right? There's a lot of ways to get the kids answers. Final exams start on the 4th. They already know their final exam schedule, by the way, so if they say, I don't know what my final, it's in the system. They can figure it out. It ends on the 11th of May, and then they have intersessional leave, and then there's a report back date that I'll show you on the calendar on when they have to be back. And then they'll go through a lot of briefs and check out stuff, and then on the 18th of May, they'll get all of their records, and they'll move out of Bancroft Hall. And that's a Friday, and it's before commissioning week even starts. So for us in the community that are sponsor parents, this is when we inherit all your kids and all their boxes and all of their stuff in our basements. It's a little scary time because they are now kind of living on their own and they have to be back for certain things. And we're gonna go through that calendar. Where can I find out information on commissioning week? It's in a lot of places, but the usna.edu website / commissioning week has got the schedule. Very easy to find. Where else can I find it? You can find it on our website. EB posts it with all the links. Where else? Oh, she's got parent clubs information, commissioning week stuff, the links to this presentation. You're just clicking through these websites, you can find everything. This presentation, that commissioning 101 book, so you don't have to go home and Xerox it a million times and give it to your clubs. You just download the PDF and send it out to your club so everybody in your club has it. But all the vendors, all the contact information, all the information on swords and everything that's in there, it's all in that book. Just download the PDF, send it to your clubs. Yeah, what else is on there? So that's that book that's downloadable. This Maryland Parents Club, wonderful folks, sir.
There used to be a thing called anchor dates.
Anchor dates.
And it looks like, I can't find it anymore, it looks like they got rid of it. It was really nice because it had, for instance, I could find, all I care about is for 2019, I just want to know what day is graduation. That would be an anchor date they'd put on there. And all the other things would fill in over time, but I can't find it.
I can get to it on the intranet, and I can't do it from here, but I know your kid can. That's there, and I'll get to that in just 1 second.
So anchor dates still exist?
Yes, it's on the academic schedules. That's on the intranet. It's not public. I can get to it from work, and your kids can certainly get to it. I'll get to that in just a second. Maryland Parents Club, Virginia folks that have run this thing for years and years and years. What a wonderful thing you guys do. But they hang all this stuff on their website too. All the booklets, all the videos, you can just push these links right out to your parents' clubs, and everybody can just sit at home over a beer or a cup of coffee and share it with their folks. And there's an app. If you didn't know, we have an app. It looks just like that. Just type in US Naval Academy, and inside that app is a button for commissioning week. And when you click on the button, you get the schedule. And it's up to date. So if a venue changes, if something, there's a construction issue or a water pipe breaks and they have to change a venue, they update it. So just you have access to that. I know, by the way, if it says I've got to go to Maury Hall and I don't know where that is, there's an interactive map that'll take you to where Maury Hall is. So you just click on the map. Right? So there's an app for it. And it's very detailed, minute by minute. So it's a small world, Hall of Presidents, big ticket if you guys are into social media or your kids are into social media, all the Twitters and Facebook and Instagram accounts, it's all information getting pumped out there. And if there's a change, it's rainy, we don't know if the parade's going to go down, it's all getting pumped out there on all that social media stuff. And they're gonna give you the latest and greatest on here. So just subscribe to that stuff if you can, or get your 15-year-old to subscribe to it. You just have them near you while you're going through it. So this is the master calendar that's on the intranet. Intranet, not internet. So when your kids say, I have no idea when I have to be back, they're lying to you. This schedule is put out 5 months, 6 months, 9 months in advance. I can tell you exactly when I-Day is, when the kids have to come back after the summer. When I know by the minute, like leave expires for the class of 18 at 1800 on the 15th. For the second and third class, the day before. I know exactly where they have to be. So it's on the intranet though. So when you're talking to them on the phone, say, look for the master calendar on the intranet, call it up, and let's go through what what your schedule is going to look like. Because they know what their final exam schedule is, so they just have to piece it into this. All right? And then on that same intranet is the academic calendars that go out like 6 years from now. And that has like anchor dates on it. So when class starts, when graduation is, when final exams are, when 6-week exams are, that's on the academic long-range stuff, right? This isn't public.
The academic stuff is.
The academic stuff isn't.
Yeah, it is.
It is? Oh, you can find it? Okay, good.
USNA academic calendars, and it pops up at
It did?
about
Okay.
spring 2018, summer 2018, fall 2018.
Okay. It's very generic. It's,
It
yeah.
has graduation and like big things like that.
Yeah.
Like Kirkland's not on
No, it's not
there.
going to have all the details. Yeah, this is going to be,
That's the difference.
yeah, this is going to be only probably available to
They used to call it
I
anchor,
know,
but it's there, it's just not called the same thing yet. Right.
We also have
All right.
a parent event calendar that all of this that I have published publicly is duplicated on our parent event calendar. And
Now-
that's updated through August 2018.
We don't want to put too much detail on the public stuff,
No.
but when you're trying to figure out when your kids finish an exam and when they have to be back so you can buy tickets instead of the week prior, 6 weeks prior, so you can save a nickel, it's there. So let's just talk about the end of the year as it starts to wind down. So we talked about the exams in the green. That was that. That ends up here. Then the kids can go on that intersessional leave, or they're going on, for the younger ones, they can start training as early as that. And then they have a little break, and then they have to start coming back. Seconds and thirds are coming in on, oh, by the way, they do this in Saturdays, Sundays over here, and Mondays over there, so just don't let your eyes misfocus and think that Sunday. It's not, it's Monday down there. So seconds and thirds have to be back, C-trials, first class have to be back, and then they jam all this stuff into the schedule for the first class. They got to see the CNO, the Commandant of the Marine Corps. They got to go do a bunch of different outbriefs this part of the week. And then that's the 19th when they get their, or the 18th when they get their records. And then they go to their sponsor's house and dump everything in their houses. And we have to put up with them through the weekend till you guys get in town when you have your rentals or hotels or whatever. But seriously, we love having your kids, so they're all wonderful kids. So. Well, I have stuff in my house though from 13s. Yeah. Yeah, they still haven't been back to get it, right? But their 5-year reunion's coming up, so maybe we can maybe. So there's a lot of information on this. We're going to kind of go through it a little slower, day by day. So kind of the big ticket items, the big events that I think you should try to figure out how to do are these ones. And they purposefully only put like one big ticket a day so that you can kind of not get worn out. The soups receptions, garden parties, whatever you want to call them, they're at Buchanan House. A lot of good food and beverages. They're really nice events. If the rain comes, and it can come, they'll move it into Dogburn Hall, but they're really, really nice events. Those are first and second bat on Sunday, third and fourth bat on Monday, fifth and sixth bat on Tuesday. It's that way every year. You can set your watch by it. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, by those bats in that order. So if you're scheduling a company party and you want to get all the company parents together for one last dinner with the company, and you want to do it on Tuesday night after the Blue Angel rehearsal, you probably don't want to be in fifth or sixth bat because you're going to have a bad reception, right? So that would be a conflict, right? So you don't want to do that. But if you're part of one of these other ones, then that's a great night to do it because you don't have a bad reception, and then you're already on the yard and you go do a nice company party or something. Monday, 8th and 9 does a great presentation from 11 to 12:10, and then Herndon at 13:30. Tuesday, Marine Corps Family Orientation. There's a lot of awards for how midshipmen performed at Leatherneck, or if they're a part of Semper Fi, or if they're involved in some of the Marine Corps extracurricular activities. And then there's a lot of, hey, welcome to the Marine Corps type of orientation, and it's really nice, very motivating. The Marines do a great job for that. So if your kids go in Marine Corps, you should practice with that.
Are those events that our kids who have 24 buds are likely to want to go to, or are they not included in that?
Younger? Yeah.
No. Like our graduating, like my first year roommate's Maureen. Does he gonna want to go to that? Do they go to that or no?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Probably.
I was just saying if they were given awards for their
Yeah.
and stuff.
If they did exceptionally well in some of the programs, it'd be nice for them to be there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Blue Angel practice is that afternoon. And this is where it starts messing with traffic, and I've got a lot of detail on that on the other slide. But once the Blue Angels start doing their business, then traffic kind of comes to a halt. The formal Blue Angel performance is at 1400 on Wednesday. Grad ball is Wednesday night. Anybody here know about the grad ball? All right. It's hot.
It is so hot.
It's hot. There's probably 4,000 people in there, and the fire marshal's like opening doors and stuff, but it's a lot of fun. And your kids are not going to want to go to it. I can tell you that right now.
So there was on that one parent's page a question about the graduation ball. There was tickets one year, last year no tickets. Some people didn't.
Yeah,
get
so they threatened to do tickets, and then they backed down, and then they walked away from it completely. There's no ticket requirements in the grad ball. The only requirement is that we don't exceed a certain threshold, and then the fire marshal starts getting panicked. But it works itself out. It works itself out. The people that are really, really warm are going to bail out, and the people that are having fun discoing with grandma on the floor, they're going to stay all night. It balances itself out. My kids, neither one of my boys wanted to go, but once we got there, we had a lot of fun. So now I show you this because it's on the same day as the Blue Angel performance, and logistics, traffic, getting to and from, dressing nicely. There's a challenge there, right? So you may have to do the rehearsal if you're going to the grad ball. Balancing things, that e-ticket thing, right?
Do you know what time the Blue Angel practices on Tuesday?
I'll get to that. Yes, ma'am. Because Tuesday's different than Wednesday. On Thursday is the color parade, and that goes down at 11. And if it rains, it goes indoors into Wesley Brown Stadium at the field house. That's way down at the end by Farragut. And it's much smaller, and it can only fit 4 companies. So if it rains out, that is a ticketed event on a rainy day. Otherwise, it's unlimited. So let's just keep going with that. So they won't cancel that unless there's lightning, or if it's so swampy that the kids' shoes are going to come off as they're marching across Fort. They're going to try to do that. Last year they canceled it because it was swampy. It had rained for like 2 days prior, and it was so bad that they went indoors into Wesley Brown. So how that works is the existing color company and the color company 2B have to be there. And then the brigade drill master picks 2 more companies to be on either side. And they usually pick them out based on who she's irritated with the most. That's the way it goes. Because nobody wants to be there that day, I can guarantee you that. But there's going to be 2 more companies. So you might not find out until, well, it's not looking good. We're going indoors, and then only a finite number of people can fit physically into there. They try not to do that though. Prizes and Award is a great event. All the first class will be there, 1,400, and there's a lot of really nice awards that are given out to the special kids that have done exceptionally well. Friday, the graduation procession. The mids come in at 9. The faculty and staff come in at 9:30, and then at 10 starts the show. 10:04, the Blue Angels fly over. And I'm going to go through that in great detail. I'm just showing you, this is kind of the big ticket items for the week. All right, Tuesday is different than Wednesday. So if you've ever been to a Blue Angel event, they have to mark their territory, so they fly over in little pods, like just the diamond comes over, then just the single plane guys come over, and they're marking GPS locations. And so that starts happening at noon. And as soon as they start flying, you'll be like, oh, hey, it's the Blue Angel show. Oh, it's just one guy, and he's cruising around. He's just marking his coordinates for his so they can figure out where they're at in that particular day, and then they come back again at 2. So starting at noon, traffic starts getting disrupted. 11:45, they start shutting down bridges, waterways, gates. So traffic starts getting messy on Tuesday at noon. Then they fly back to Andrews Air Force Base, they refuel, and then they come back at 2 o'clock and do a standard show, a regular performance. It's going to look just like Wednesday. But it looks goofy at noon, and you're wondering, what is this? What are these guys doing? They're just marking their territory. All right? And then 10:04 on Friday. So for all you folks that have boats, or are renting boats, or invited to go on a boat, you won't be in the red area. That's the dangerous area. But there'll be a lot of people that have boats everywhere else, up in the coves, and where this star is what they consider show center. It's where the soloists would pass each other very closely. And there'll be a P3 sitting in the water right there. Where the red line is, we can't have people. So even out on Hospital Point, there'll be temporary fencing put up, snow fencing put up, where portions of Hospital Point you can't go to. You can't go to any of the Dewey Field locations, and this part of Farragut's off limits, because that's where they have the SAR rescue guys. So a lot of people go right here to Ingram Track, because it's show center. Sometimes shaded, we put food vendors in there, and it's not a bad place to see it from, or out on Hospital Point, bring a lawn chair. WNAD, I think, does a simulcast, so you can hear what the narrators are saying. Now, coming from the east, now, they give you the whole show perspective. All right. More detail up at the top there of where people typically watch from. So Ingram Track, in and around the mid-store parking lot. There's a lot of construction going on down there, so you might have some limited areas. And then in the triangle area out on Hospital Point. The red area you will not be allowed in.
Is this for both days?
Both days. And traffic can't drive down there either. So the mid-store road, you can't drive down the mid-store road. So the closest you're going to get is anywhere in this kind of area, and you're walking. All right.
So you can set up anywhere else in the green area?
Sure. I see a lot of people, they'll form up maybe in Strickland Walk area and watch down between the buildings, but they're coming in so low that it can be hard to see them. Yeah. So the Hospital Point or along that area where it's gold is usually the best area to watch from. Unobstructed, right? So this is where the bridge starts becoming a factor, and I got a picture on this, but the bridge closes while the Blue Angels are performing because the bridge is right there. So the bridge is in a hazardous area. So they don't want anybody driving across that bridge. And oh, by the way, the next bridge down is Route 50, and that becomes a huge mess because everybody likes to stop on the bridge to watch the Blue Angels fly. Traffic on this, it can get really cool going up and down 50 out there because people are stopping, right? So,
What's the hockey rink on that map? Is it in that parking lot?
where is it?
Yeah, right at the very top of the base.
B.
Yeah. Base, super good.
Street?
Yeah. Go all the way up.
It's a little north.
Oh, further north? Oh, Gates Sportsplex, right. Oh, it's right up the top, yeah. Yeah, I mean, from like the rugby pitches, you probably see pretty well. You're getting the low stuff you might not see very well, especially when they're doing the little barely flying thing. But there are camping areas. There are areas down in here that I think people would go to, for sure. So the bridges, they start closing those bridges. Becomes a big parking lot out there in those areas. And then once they open them, like on Tuesday, for the Circle and Arrival at noon, they'll close everything down, and then they'll open it back up again for just a little while, from like, maybe 1 to 1:45, if they can. Run as much traffic back and forth across there, and shut it back down again at 1:45, just part of the 2 o'clock regular practice session. So I say that so that you're not trying to get to the yard at 1:45 and wondering why all these cars are parked out here on Route 50. And then the gates themselves, the Naval Academy shuts down so that they can turn their attention on crowd control and making sure people aren't in areas that they're not supposed to be in.
Did you say when the church is going to be closing down on the day of the show?
1345.
Okay, that's what that time.
Yeah. 1345. It'll be open all the way to 1345. And they're usually pretty good with the city about putting up the big, you know, the neon signs on the side of Route Boulevard. They'll warn you there too.
So on Tuesday, if you want to get in, you've got to be on the yard before 11.
Yes, ma'am. And the 8th and 9 perform, no, the Marine Corps stuff is that morning. And what else is that? Tuesday afternoon. Just get there early. So hopefully this thing will be done here in the next month or so. There's a lot of, it's beautification right now. It's the parking garage. This has been a real good project for, it was supposed to be done in November. It was supposed to be done this past November. The contractor's losing like $8,000 per day for every day that it was late from that date. So I wouldn't have a whole lot of stock in that company. But it's almost done, and that's going to help alleviate some of the pressures because you're going to be able to at least get to that. Handicap, if you have a placard, they let you in. It's just, again, it's going to be tough finding parking once you get in. So logistical hurdles. This is a lot of information on the slide, so this slide typically generates the most questions. Weather. If anybody's been to this area in the spring, it can be anywhere from 40 degrees in rain to 100 degrees in that week. I'm not kidding. You're just going to have to pack for a lot of different types of seasons and just try to stay ahead of the weather the best you can before you come into town. We talked about the Blue Angel traffic impact, parking and access. All the families will get one parking pass for one car out at the stadium, and we will run, on the big days, like for the Blue Angel days, they'll have 24 buses in circulation, running from the Blue Angel to the yard. On the slower days, when it's just, you know, lower amounts, they might roll that down to like 10 buses in flow. But for the big events, they'll ramp it all the way back up to 24 buses. So there'll be constantly buses flowing. So it's not a bad way of doing things. It just means you're going to have to pack accordingly and ride the bus over.
So do the buses have to stop at the same time the traffic stops?
The buses will get impacted by it, especially around that back gate by gate 8, because that will back up all the way. But at least you're sitting on an air-conditioned bus instead of walking, you know, really far in traffic. For unloading the yard. Loading the yard in the morning, it'll flow pretty nicely. But after the Blue Angels finish, like around 3:30, and everybody gets back on the buses to leave, it's going to take a little while to unload the yard for sure. Yeah, and there'll be some impacts there when people are trying to unload the yard. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but do they stop the buses on Tuesday during the practice?
Yes, because the gates are closed.
Okay.
Yes. Let's talk about medical support. There's a lot of medical available, and you think, hey, those guys in those uniforms are going to be able to help me out. Only if you're also in uniform, because that's the way it works on the yard. Military medicine only pertains to military people. They can call 911, making sure you're stable, raise your feet if you're having a stroke, get you through the major, you know, life-saving type things, but they're not really going to be able to do a whole lot for you other than call 911. I just mentioned that because a lot of people are like, hey, they've got medical support there. It's military medical medicine only pertains to military people. Otherwise, we just call 911 and get you to an ambulance. Tickets is always a great question. I always see this on Facebook. How do tickets work? How many tickets can I ask for? There's limitations on certain events, and then there are no limitations on other events. So let's just talk about commissioning day itself. I'll show you a picture in a second of where the company areas are, but there's a limitation on the number of seats in this kind of this restricted area. But then in the other area, the upper deck of the stadium and down where the midshipman normally sits during home football games, it's unlimited. So I told Maddie to get us 50 the last time. And I probably used them because people forgot. Hey, I got cousins, brothers, uncles, other people are coming. Just order whatever you think you might need and then pad it a little bit because don't worry, they're not going to sit with you. They may have to sit in the upper deck or they may have to sit down with the midshipman work. But you can bring in as many as you want to the actual ceremony. The trouble happens if we have to go indoors. If we have to go indoors, it's only 4 per family. Because if you've ever been inside of Alumni Hall, there's limited seating now, right? So, and it's no BS. It's only 4 per family. You'll have to show a ticket to get on the bus out of the stadium to ride the bus over to be let into Alumni Hall. So it's not like people can show up at Alumni Hall and go, let me in, let me in. It doesn't work that way. It's 4 per family. We've only ever had 1 indoor graduation ceremony, ever. It was 1987, and it was a mess. Yeah, David Robinson was graduating that year. I was a 3rd class midshipman. We did it in Halsey Fieldhouse. Whipped it together. It was terrible. They've got a great plan. It's a very executable plan. They'll do the same type of ceremony. It's just limited number of people that actually can get into the building, and then they'll live stream it everywhere else. So that's the rough part. You just got to be prepared on who's going to be the 4 that make the cut, right? It's tough. The color parade is 4 per family. The suits reception is 4 plus the mid. 4 plus the mid. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Stand.
For families that have more than 1 midshipman, so a mid.
In the graduating class?
Right, so you have a graduate and then you have a mid-sib. What happens to the mid-sibs? I get this question all the time.
The mid-sibs will have to be at graduation anyway, but they don't get charged a ticket. They will get charged a ticket if they go to the suits reception,
Right.
or if they have to go to the indoor. Well, they'll be invited to the indoor.
Okay, but
No, I take that back. They will not be invited to the indoor.
Okay, so some parents have asked, do they get to sit with the family or do they have to sit with the brigade?
The mids sit as with the brigade, and I'll show you a picture here where they sit. Man.
So what determines the indoor commencement? Is it?
What determines the indoor commencement? Okay, great question. So I'll use 2013 for example. President Obama was the guest speaker. We already had a lot of restrictions for Secret Service, and it was 40 degrees and raining, and there was lightning all around, and yeah, it was bad. My son was graduating that year, and it was really, really ugly, and we went ahead and did it outside anyway. But we didn't give them their diplomas, and there were several off-ramps where the president could have just said, hey, have a nice day, and we would have dealt with it. We would have had to shorten it up. But he didn't. He put on an overcoat and stood out there and shook every kid's hand. So I would have to say, it would have to be hurricane-like weather for us not to do this thing outdoors. It would have to be, in fact, dangerous for us to not do this outdoors. They're going to do everything they can for it to be outdoors. But it's going to be based on the safety of the crowd.
The top 10% legacy stadium field seating, how many tickets do you get for legacy?
2. Legacy's 2, top 10% is 2.
Craig, can you remember to repeat the question? Please?
How many? Yes, ma'am. Sorry. This is where I always have to get reminded what to do. So how many tickets do you get if you're a legacy parent or if you're in the top 10%? And the answer is 2. On the field. And I'll show you that. I have a picture of it. Yes, ma'am.
2 plus 6 in the company area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
2 on the field, 6 in the company area, and then unlimited in the outer area. Yes. All right, logistical hurdles. Kind of already talked about some of this stuff, but weather's horrible. Hopefully we'll have a nice, beautiful. We're going to be pumping information out through social media, though. Anytime there's a delay, a possible delay of, hey, it looks kind of rainy out there, there's going to be information flying out there on social media. And it might just say, yes, it's raining, we're still going outside. Just social media is a great way of just keeping in touch with what's going on. But you got to think about all these long days, weather, parking, logistics. How many of these events can I do? What should I try to accomplish? Who goes to what? Who stays home? Who only shows up for certain key events?
I'm assuming umbrellas are banned for security reasons, or do they allow umbrellas? So if it's a rainy day, you just need to make sure you have a hat and a...
You can bring an umbrella onto the yard. Rainy umbrellas in the stadium, probably permitted, but the person sitting behind you is probably going to fight you. Right? Okay, umbrella policy. There's no umbrella policy on board the installation, so if you went to a rainy color parade, no big deal. Rainy Herndon, all day. If you brought an umbrella into the stadium and sat in front of me, we're probably fighting within minutes, right? So I would say if you're going into the stadium, plan on wearing a poncho or something that's going to allow the person behind you to be able to see. Fair enough?
In the book it says no umbrellas. No umbrellas.
No umbrellas in the stadium? None? That's probably why. There's probably too many fights in the stadium. Managing expectations. This is another one. This is just throwing this out there because you all have to figure out what's best for your families. But it's an emotional time for the midshipmen. They're very emotional. They're seeing the end of a 4-year experience coming. They know that they're not going to see certain members of their family for it could be 5-10 years, you know? So they want to go to everything with their friends. They want to go to Timmy's party, Susie's party. They're going to want to do things that might not fit what you guys had planned for that week, right? You want grandma to make the big Italian dinner and have everybody together, and Johnny says, I'm not here. We got parties to go to. We got things to do. And oh, by the way, you're the Uber driver. I was the Uber driver because I don't want, first of all, there's no parking at those houses where people are hosting parties anyway, but I don't want my kid driving that particular week. So I spent a lot of time driving my kids around that week. So I say this because sometimes we have these big expectations of this is your week, you're holding this special event, you're spending all this money on this great house. Just work it out with the kids because your kid may want to be in different places than you want your kid to be, right? There's a lot of military obligations for the kids that week. The ugliest of them all is the Wednesday morning at 6:30 muster time at the stadium because they do an outdoor graduation practice on Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. They muster at 6:30. So these kids, like I said, they've been out to parties till 2 o'clock in the morning the night before. You were the Uber driver, and then they got to be at the stadium at 6:30 in the morning in whites, usually sunglasses on, typically sleeping in their chairs. But we don't set the stadium up very far in advance because it costs a lot of money. So they set the stadium up like Tuesday. So they have to do an outdoor graduation practice. So that's why it's Wednesday of the commissioning week. If you're asking yourselves, why would you do that to those kids? Because during the rest of the day, it's impossible to do. There's all these award ceremonies, there's Blue Angels, there's parades. There's no other time to do it except 7 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. And your kids are going to hate it, but they're going to be there and they're going to get it done. Man.
And they are not in Bancroft Hall, so they...
Right.
What do they have to make?
They're not in Bancroft Hall, because remember, they're at the sponsor's house or in your rental houses or they're in a hotel or the apartment they've already rented. So they're not. They're driving their cars around, or you're driving them around. And then you're thinking about time, traffic, all those other implications of... so 1 year, the company, the company that my oldest son was in, they want to do a company party. All right, I'm down with that. I would do the company party in the Oak Club on Tuesday at 5 after the Blue Angels rehearsal. I can get the club reserved. Cost us about $25 a piece. How about we do that? No. We want to do something much harder than that. We want to be at the museum in the backside of Eastport at 6 o'clock. Like, how do you think these people are going to get from the yard to the backside of Eastport at 6 o'clock on Tuesday? Needless to say, we were right. Nobody showed up for their events. Don't set yourself up for something that you are going to fail at if it comes to some sort of logistic hurdle, right? You've got all these plans. I want to cook these dinners. I want to do all these great things. That's why we bring all these caterers in here, because you know it's impossible for you to do it. Just have them cook it and bring it to your house. And then the weather. We talked about weather enough. Sorry, is there a hand? Oh, hi.
For the graduation practice, will the children be able to actually drive onto the stadium with the second class and the parents and shuttles working, or will that be like no parking for mids that morning? How does that work?
The mids can certainly park at the stadium. Yeah, certainly park at the stadium. And if you have more than one car per family, that's fine. One car is going to be free that the school's going to pay for. You're going to get one parking pass. But if you have more cars than that, it's $5 a day. So that's going to charge you probably every time you come and go. But you can park as many cars as you want out there. But yes, the mids will be driving back and forth to that. And the underclass will not be permitted to park on the yard. I don't believe so. I think they're going to keep them off. Commissioning day. Getting to the stadium, and I'll show you a picture of that. It's Friday, it's a work day in Annapolis, and it's Memorial Day weekend. So, getting to the stadium is not a unique idea. You're not the only people going to be in Annapolis that day trying to get to the stadium. And if you think you're going to get there at 8:30, cruise into my seats, maybe grab a coffee on the way in, don't set yourself up for failure. Gates open at 6 for a reason. Grab some coffee, some donuts, hang out in the parking lot, tailgates, and then work your way into the stadium. Take your time. Don't be crazy. We've certainly seen midshipmen running down Royal Boulevard. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Stood there and watching them run down Royal Boulevard with their graduation uniforms on to get there to muster so they can graduate. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it's all full of vendors, for sure. Is there vendors in the stadium that morning? Yeah, it's full of vendors. Overpriced water, overpriced coffee, overpriced everything. Because you're in AAA land there, right? They gotta make their money off of it. Or just bring a cooler and sit out in the parking lot and come in at 8:45. So the gates open at 7. The grads have to muster, and here's a visual of the kids running down Round Boulevard with their uniform, right? You folks are in this parking lot or in the stands by now, and you're holding their cover and their shoulder boards. And you say, why am I doing that? The grad knows the answer. Because the kid can't have his new shoulder boards or his cover in his seat down on the stadium floor. So you're going to be carrying the new cover and the new shoulder boards sitting up in the stands. And then after the graduation, you're going to find each other. We'll get to that. The mids come in at 9. They process down, just like every procession you've ever seen. They come from the back under the big sign at the horseshoe end. They come down the hill into the stands. 9:30 comes the staff, faculty. 10 o'clock comes the VIPs. And it is the President of the United States, despite all the other rumors. It is the President's turn this year. So barring any other crazy events in the world, it'll be the President of the United States. Now, security on a president year goes way up. So there'll be metal detectors, there'll be magnetometers, there'll be areas of the stadium that are more restricted than they have been in previous years, and I'll show you that on here. There'll be snipers and towers, there'll be extra vehicles, there'll be a lot of weird stuff, but that's the way it is for a president year. But it's really cool to see your kid shaking hands with the President of the United States. So, 10 o'clock starts the ceremony. Like I said, 10:04, here comes the Blue Angels, and then they start into the speeches. CNO speaks, Colin Newport speaks, President's going to speak. Stand.
Do you know who's going to be the speaker next year?
It rotates every year. It's going to be SecDef, SecNav, VPP. It rotates. We almost had the president last year, but we had the Gulf or the G20 summit in Europe. They try to rotate each one of them and promise, and then they do it extra ones each year. So I don't know the answer to that. If there's 900 people in the class or 1,050 in the class, they still always seem to end up right around 12:30. 12:30, 12:35. They get it done. Annie.
Just a quick note, if you're bringing the cover and
Yeah, that would be
So
bad.
just
That would be bad.
that, or you can, if you're gonna get the cover bag, just put the shoulder, that's what we do, put the cover in the shoulder bag, the shoulder board, everything in the cover bag.
Make sure you got a good secure. And oh, by the way, we have a vendor out there that sells really cool cover bags. If Murph is out there, that was for my boy Murph. I will tell you, I try not to inject too many C stories, but I have to tell you one on this because it kind of goes along. So my big friend Chuck Bailey, I don't know if you know Marie Bailey. Chuck waved to you on video. He's a shot putter. He was my classmate, shot putter. Hands like a 6 bananas, like these gigantic hands. So, segue, sorry, I'll get back to there's my big Chuck out. So graduation day, mom's got the shoulder boards, dad's got the hat, mom's got the hat. They get down to the field, open up the shoulder boards, the women's shoulder boards. So he's like, uh-oh. He runs in his uniform, choker whites, from the stadium to the mid-store on commissioning day. Buys a new set of shoulder boards, runs back to the stadium. But as he's coming out of the stadium, a young third class that he knew popped him a salute because she knew that he just graduated. So he returns the salute, but he doesn't give her the silver dollar. He forgets. And he thought about it for the next 20 years. I'm not kidding. It gives me hair tingle in my arms. He found her 20 years later on LinkedIn, and he gave her the coin. That's sweet. So there's pictures. It's in Shipley magazine. It's a great story. That's my big friend Chuck. So I wanted to squeeze that one in. So you're going to do that after the graduation ceremony, somewhere around 12:30, 12:40. Okay. And then the challenge is going to be trying to find your kid in that big mosh pit, and I'm going to show you some ideas on that. All right, so how are we doing on time? Everybody doing okay? If you need to take a health break, by all means, just jump up and go.
Are they having the clear bag policy on commissioning day like they do for the
Are they
football
having a
games?
clear bag policy on commissioning day? I doubt it. There will be magnetometers, but you can pretty much bring in. They're going to look at
They're
everything.
gonna look at everything. They're not gonna make you leave anything outside. Everything has to be accessible to look at or to stick in. They're not gonna.
Not necessarily,
Not
but
necessarily.
so no clear bag
No
policy.
clear bag policy for the state.
Yes, sir.
They can pack water and food.
I think they've allowed water, but they get uptight about that on food because the vendors are in there, and this is where AAA gets involved. Sorry, AAA, but you're only in it for the money.
No.
I was talking to the microphone.
I was just going to note that some of that might change because it's the president. If the president
Yeah,
is speaking,
yeah.
a
So,
lot of that will probably change.
I doubt food. I doubt big coolers. Probably a water or two, maybe. But if you're trying to roll in there with a 12-packer, it's not going to fly.
So you mentioned there's vendors inside the stadium,
Yes, sir.
right in the parking lot.
Not in the parking lots. They're inside the stadium. That's why you bring the cooler, tailgate in the parking lots, and then work your way in, right? No vendors in the parking lots. We're going to have to show some more neat pictures. So when I say that it's Friday, it's a work day, and it's Memorial Day weekend, I just mentioned this because there's a lot of ways to get to the stadium. And everybody thinks that the only way to get to the stadium is on Route Boulevard. It's not true. It's not true. You can get to the stadium from a lot of different ways. So depending on where you're staying, start thinking about lots of different ways of getting to the stadium, okay? And I shouldn't even give this away because I feel like it's my secret way to get to the stadium. I live down here in Davisonville. I was a South River graduate. I graduated from right down the street here. But I come in off West Street and I go in behind the little elementary school and I park in the back. Right? So if you're coming in from Arnold or Severna Park, you may not want to go to 50. You may want to come across the little 450 bridge. You may want to bypass the Route 2 exit instead of getting right on Round Boulevard and going down the West Street. Come on down to West Street and pop in the back. Just think about that because you got a lot of friends doing the same thing. And then at the end of the day, Friday afternoon, 12:30, 1 o'clock, all those people heading to the beach for Memorial Day weekend, You may not want to go across the 50 bridge because that's where everybody else is going. You may want to go across 450 and go across College Avenue, work your way south because Route 50 could be a mess that day with the Memorial Day traffic. Okay? That's fine.
A little clarification for me for the parking that day on the stadium grounds. So we get one parking pass per family. But
For free. One parking pass per
Okay.
family for free.
so if it's 5:40, 4 of our vehicles, because we want to tailgate, line up to get on there, then that's okay.
There's no charge for graduation day.
Okay,
So you can bring 10 cars graduation day.
okay.
Yeah, they're not going to charge for graduation day. What's that? It's for the rest of the week. Yeah, it's for the rest of the week. Yeah. Let's keep pressing. Unless there was a hand. Yes, ma'am.
Do they have adequate parking for everybody on graduation day?
Do they have adequate parking for everyone on graduation day? Yes, but there's only 1 or 2 points to get in and 1 or 2 points to get out.
Okay.
So it's very slow to get in and really slow to get out. But you'll fit all the cars in. I told you that the weather affected event is very rare, but it does happen. I probably, yeah, you got it? You okay?
So, Admiral parking, if you have an Admiral parking pass, is that only?
No, that's only for football games. Yeah. Somebody else is tailgating in that spot. So, I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you that. Yep. We talked about the weather. We talked about the rain tournament. Yeah. So, like I said, in 2013, rain's pouring down. In a normal year, the kid's actual diploma and commissioning certificate is given to them. Right on the stage. It's the actual document. It's not a dummy. If it's raining, we don't want to do that, clearly. So there's a procedure where we just give them a fake one, and then they give it back at the bottom of the ramp, and then we keep the real ones up, and I'll show you a picture of where they're at. But after the graduation ceremony, eventually they're going to have to get up there and get the real one, and they have them in plastic bags for them. So you don't have to worry about that. There's scenarios where we don't call out all the kids' names. We just graduate them. There's a lot of different little off-ramps that can occur. I've never done that before, and I don't think they ever would. And like I said, you know, it was terrible. And President Obama said, no, just go get me that big coat that I have. Put the coat on, stood up there in the rain, shook everybody's hand. So it would really have to be horrible for them to shorten it up. But they do, if they can, if they have to. They'll stream it. It's viewable on a laptop. It's viewable in the hotels. If we're indoors in the stadium, like, they'll even show it on the big screens in the stadium if you want to sit there in the stadium in the bad weather because they had to go indoors. They're going to show it everywhere. So there's going to be a way for your family to see it. All right, let's talk about the stadium. Again, there's only a couple of points of entry for the parking lot, which makes it difficult to get into the lot, which causes traffic jams, and it certainly makes it hard to get out of the stadium after the ceremony is over. But for your knowledge, and if you're bringing people that are mobility limited, don't make it harder on yourself than you have to. If your child is want to be sitting on the blue side and you want to be on the blue side, park on the blue side. Your child is on the gold side. Just too often I see somebody that's trying to get from here to the gold side. Just make it easier on yourself. Just try to park on the side of the stadium that is going to be your closest point of entry into the stadium. So the way that the odd number companies sit on the right and the even companies sit on the left. So this makes it a little bit clearer. All right. This area that's red is going to be restricted because of the security. They don't want anybody sitting in there. Nobody sits behind the stage. So this is going to be all roped off. The midshipmen are going to be in these blue areas. And then this gold area, just for simplification, is that restricted 6 per family in the company area. That's what like the gold would be. And then the green would be the unlimited overflow. Everybody just go to it. So when you say, where are my 6 seats for my company area, restricted area, it's going to be one of these 2 areas. And it's going to be on the side that's closest to your kid. So the even number companies are here, the odd number companies there. If your kid's in 13th company, you're going to have 6 seats up there. Is that clear enough? All right, good. Oh yeah, that's all overflow, it's all seeded. Kids are rolling down the hills, is the grass, yep. And a lot of kids are up there.
So I have a question, the yellow area, where the seats, are they first come, first served? I mean, so.
It is first come, first served is the yellow area restricted. It's not gonna be a by numbered seats. It's just there's gonna be ushers at these little points of entry, and they're gonna say, show me your tickets. I got my 6, you got your 6 people? Okay, go ahead, go on in. And then, but people are gonna try to reserve like 15 seats, and they're gonna be a pain. It always works out that way, right? People are difficult. But you're just gonna do the best you can to work it out. It's not gonna be like dedicated, oh, I'm sitting in room, J 32, you have to move. It's not gonna work that way. Ma'am.
Did you say earlier that they walk in from the hillside?
Yes, ma'am, from the hillside. But people will still be there, right? They just cordon off a zone, and then they come through, and there's a set of stairs, if you've ever seen it, that goes all the way to the field. Ma'am.
So, just help me out. I'm just trying to figure out which side of the I-5, which side of the but where's the blue angel?
Where's the blue angel?
Yeah,
It's on the blue
it's
side.
on the blue side. Okay, good.
Yeah. So this is the flat end, this is the curved end, right? So the blue angel is out there in the blue side. Let's see if this one does it better. Yeah, so the blue angel is
Above the number 5.
all right. All right. If the rain starts coming down, and we don't want to hand out the diplomas and we hide them, then they're going to be up in the captain's barbecue and the soup's barbecue tents, and the kids will have to come up the stairs and get their diplomas after graduation in a plastic bag, which just adds a lot of logistics, but you get it done. Top 10%. There's some specific questions about top 10%. The way the midshipmen process across the stage is different than the normal graduation, okay? So the top 10%, they get up in rows and they walk towards the blue side and they come up the ramp, they shake everybody's hand, they end up down on the gold side and they circle back to their seat. So for the moms and dads that want to take the picture, if you're top 10%, you're probably going to want to be on the gold side, and then you can go back to your other side later. Nobody cares if you move around. Nobody cares if you stand down here in the third of this area, take a picture. Just don't camp there. Just take your picture and go sit down, right?
Can I clarify that a little bit? If you have field seating, you cannot just move around.
Your field seating is these 2 gold areas. That's like the 2.
Yes. But if your kid is in the top 10%, you get 2 field seats.
Right.
If you have a kid so mine was in 5th company. We had gold seating, so we had to sit on the gold side of the field seats, and we tried to get up and take a picture on the other side.
Yeah, top 10% are assigned seats.
Yes.
But the rest of your folks were up in the 6% side.
But you can't move to the other side. It's cordoned off.
From the field.
Right.
You're going to have to go up and around.
Yes.
So for the top 10%ers, you're going to want to be there before everything goes, while they're wrapping up their remarks, before they do their I do, and get everybody lined up, and then you can go back later. Yeah. For the rest of us, I graduated almost last in the class. Eventually, my mom would have had to go around, take a picture, and then come back. Yep, I'll show you that. So this is just that top 10%. It's going to be the top 100 kids in the class, right? And they're going to process a certain way. I only say that because there's always a crowd that has a few of those in there. Not me. Not my kids were smart, but they weren't top 10%. They weren't top 10%. The rest of the kids will process this way. Odd number companies on the right facing the stage, even companies on the left facing the stage, right? And so when they get up there and turn, that's why we put you folks in the area where you can see them when they make the turn. And this is when they come down the ramp coming towards you. All right? So that's why the odd-numbered families, we would have them over on the blue side. And so the kid comes up to the stage, shakes the president's hand, shakes the CNO's hand, heads down the ramp, and that's why you're going to be over there. All right? Does that work? You guys got that? Okay. Ma'am.
For legacy, is it just one child prior or
For legacy, is it just one child prior or 2?
think Legacy is another child.
So Legacy is going to get 2 seats
No, what classifies a person to be a legacy?
if you graduated from the school.
She has another son that has already graduated, so she's a legacy.
No, he's.
Your son is the legacy, but not the parents.
Exactly.
So the son could, if your son is a grad, he could request 2 tickets on the field. Yeah, only the grad. And then finding your kid after this mosh pit occurs. So there's only a few points of entry onto the field in this area. There's a lot of points of entry down towards where the mids sit during a regular game, or down from the hillside area. Everybody just runs down there. And it's hard to find your kid in that big mosh pit. My recommendation is you pick a point that you're going to meet. The end is probably a pretty popular idea. You're probably going to be with a lot of other people if you do that. So you may want to say 20-yard line blue side, or 10-yard, or the end zone gold side. Just pick something in advance where you know that it's going to be easy enough for your kid to get to and easy enough for you to get to. And if you have, I know, but you can kind of in your head know, right? Because it is lacrosse season, so the numbers are the slot. Yeah. It's going to be lacrosse marking. So you can say in the crease a little. The battle markings. If you, the picture might not show, but there's battle markings. You are smart. You'll figure it out. Just don't say, "I'll find you on the field afterwards," because it'll be hard. And cell phones don't really work once you get this craziness going on. If you have, physically limited people that probably aren't going to make it down to the field, then just take a spot up on the cement round area. We told people to go to there's another Build a Goat. If you haven't seen it in the rounded end zone, go to Build a Goat down there underneath the big display, right?
Jumbotron.
Jumbotron. Yeah, there's a Build a Goat underneath the Jumbotron. So then then they can go, if they're handicapped, they can get right to that and not have to go all the way down to the mosh pit and work their way back up. But you're going to want to find them quickly and do the shoulder board, hat exchange, get the pictures. Let them do the first salute, whoever salutes them first. Right? Makes sense? Ma'am?
I was wondering, is it still the tradition after the hat toss that the little kids get to go down the field and
Yeah. Yeah.
How it's just crazy for the little kids.
Yes. We've tried to change it. Do the little kids still charge the field after the hat toss? Yes. And they help make it a mosh pit because there's flipping chairs over and stuff flying everywhere. Yes, it happens. And sometimes they're not little kids. Sometimes they're big people running through there. Sometimes they're grabbing a lot of hats. You want to fight them again. It happens. But yes, there's going to be a lot of little kids that charge that area trying to get the hats after they've been thrown in the air. And typically the grads, they'll put a couple of bucks in there, a note or something. Good luck. That's typically a tradition, and that's one of the reasons why the little knuckleheads are in there. This one had $1. But yeah, it's a fun part of the day. And it does add to the intensity of the moment while you're trying to get down there. All right, I think that was my last slide. All right, so the idea was not to tell you how to do it, right? We're not going to tell you how to do it, but we're going to tell you that there's a lot of things along the way that can be very, very difficult. So you got to manage your week. Some really, really long days in there. If you got multiple events in the same day, try to figure out where you're going to build in breaks, how you're going to get to and from all your different events, how you're going to rest. Be the Uber driver. I know a lot of people are going to the lacrosse game right now, so I'm not offended if you get up and leave.
There's also raffles.
But we have raffles. Oh, we gotta do the raffles. But I can do questions first while you're getting the raffles
Right.
ready.
So we're gonna do questions, and then USA has some big raffles. You can do those here. Then the other raffles will be done out in the other room when we're all done here. So I have to go find Paul.
All right, so we're gonna do raffles in a minute. Any other questions while we're going? Yes, ma'am.
What time do you think we'll get out of the stadium and graduate?
Ha ha! All right, I'll repeat it. I just want to get the whole question first. All right, what time should you expect to get out of the stadium after graduation? So, hat toss at 12:30. You might find your mid within a half hour. We do the cover exchange pictures. You're heading for the gates. A lot of other people are doing the same thing. 2:30, if you're aggressive. If you have the photographer that likes to take every picture like 16 times, then you're behind a lot of other people that are aggressive, right? So it's going to be a while. It's going to be 2:30, 3 o'clock before you start unloading really well. Yes, ma'am.
What do you suggest if you have more than 6 people coming? What do people do? Who do you decide to put where?
Yeah, you know that seating in that restricted area, it's not that great. I mean, you can see everything from anywhere in that stadium. So if you've got 8 people that want to be all together, just sit in another area of the stadium all together. I never thought those particular seats were that great anyway. Just do the best you can for your family, you know? Like for us, I think we had a certain number of people in there, then all the kids' friends, they went wherever they went to the overflow. Sam.
So a couple of other graduating the next day at 9 in the morning. Is it even worth it to try to fly, or is it better just to get in the car, drive?
How far do you have to go?
Back to Indiana.
Ooh, 8 hours, 9 hours?
It's like 10 and a half, roughly.
You're heading north, you're heading away from the trouble.
Okay.
So if you got on the road by 4, you'd make it there by midnight. Yeah.
Holiday.
But she's heading north and west instead of east and south, right? Ma'am.
Here's my question.
Yes. For
Repeat the
professional
question.
photography. There's usually a vendor out here that does professional photography, right, Evie?
There's one out there.
There are. Our people are taking pictures, the school's taking pictures, and it all gets hung up on the websites. But you can pay a specific professional vendor to just deal with your kid. I know that happens. But every kid's going to have multiple pictures taken, and it's going to be hung up on the website. There's a hand over here. Moving. Sir.
Just a comment for the group. I'm a 92 grad, and all the stuff that happens, tons and tons of things going on, and I neglected to follow up. They took a professional picture of me shaking President Bush's hand, and I cannot find it. I didn't get it at the time. I didn't ask for it. For whatever reason, we didn't get it, and I've always regretted it. So, anyhow, there was a professionally taken photograph right there of President Bush, and I can't find it anymore.
Is there a specific vendor that does that?
We'll follow up with some of the photographer options later, and we can flush some of this stuff out in the questions and answers afterwards. Question.
I'm not military until I'm new to this. There's some here. What is, I understand the significance of the first salute, but does it matter who does that first salute, or is it just whoever?
It's up to your family. It's the significance of the first salute. You point. Oh, I pointed to
Repeat the question.
Oh, repeating the question. What is the significance of the first salute? It's somebody junior to the ensign or second lieutenant. It's just a first sign of respect, and because it's that tradition to pay back a coin, it's usually somebody that's pretty special in your life. It's a pretty significant person in your life that you want to do that for. A lot of times it'll be like Grandpa was enlisted in the army in Korea. He wants to do the first salute. They're really kind of unique moments like that. For my friend Chuck, it was a third-class midshipman coming out of the mid-store, and they didn't go find her 20 years later. So it kind of depends. Our son his best friend was enlisted. He came up from New Power School and he was the first salute. So there's different things in your family that you might try. In some cases, it's another midshipman. Somebody that they was younger than them in their company that they cared about a lot. They mentored them. And that younger midshipman will find them and do the first salute that way. That's what Michael looks like. Michael had his 4 plebes or something on salute. Yeah. Ma'am. Video is live fed and is recorded. It's recorded and it's available on the usna.edu site as a recording. You can download and save the entire graduation ceremony. And then if you've got somebody really smart and technically savvy, they can probably splice just that portion out. Yeah. But it is downloadable and it is recorded, for sure.
Hey, Craig. You just maybe mentioned how to begin for 6 tickets.
Oh, okay, so for the kids that don't communicate with their parents, any of them? So for the kids the parents whose kids don't communicate very well, I'll just let you know that they're going to get told sometime around spring break to put in their order number, what is your requirements, and then all of that stuff gets packaged up that week that they're back here prior to that Friday, and in that envelope, they're handed all of their tickets that they've pre-ordered. So that will be in the sponsor's basement that afternoon, and you'll have to go by the sponsor's house to find that envelope, because it's going to have all the tickets in it.
Writings forever.
Ma'am? The parking pass will be in that as well.
When did the commissioning packets come out?
Commissioning packages come out in April.
Now, they're trying to get them mailed. So the commissioning packet gets mailed from the Naval Academy. They try and mail it right before spring break so that if your mid comes home, you can discuss. They're trying. I haven't gotten an update if it's gone out, but it usually goes out around the first week of March. So look for that. And then try and talk to your maids about that ticket request.
Yeah, and pad it, by all means. Put bigger numbers in it. Yes, ma'am.
The 6 reserved the parents' seat. If you don't use this, you want to share, but if not same company, different company, probably same at the even side.
Yes.
How it works? It's pretty well.
So the kid, how do you share tickets if you don't use all yours? And in some cases, like for that bat reception, where it's 4 tickets, or the superintendent's garden party, where it's 4 tickets plus the midshipman, and you've got a 5th. And you've got to cut the little 8-year-old sister off. She's not going. The mids work it out. They seem to work it out. Like, I'm not going to use 1. I'm not going to use 2. Only my mom and dad are coming, whatever, for that day, because it's the rest of my family showing up later in the week. The mids kind of work it out amongst themselves. So typically, the kid in the company will say, I'm going to have extra tickets, or they'll ask, hey, any of you guys have extra tickets to this or that? And they end up just sharing amongst themselves. Ma'am.
So just to go over the tickets for graduation day, if you're not a legacy and you're not in the top 10%, you get 4 tickets and then 6 reserved tickets and then unlimited tickets as far as the levels go.
Yes,
right?
so tickets, how many tickets do you get for if you're not 10%, not legacy? 6 reserved, 4 indoor, unlimited in the overflow outer area. So yes, if you think that you're going to have 10 people showing up, break down 20. And then you'll get 20 overflow tickets that you can use or not use or trade or give to other people. Sir?
Is the top 10%, are they alphabetical, by rank structure?
Top 10% is by rank. The number 1 kid, number 1 GPA is first. And it's not just academic, it's also military. So in some cases, the number 1 academically could be outdone by the number 2 that's slightly less but has a higher military order of merit. It's the overall combination of the 2. Yeah.
If you have grandparents in wheelchairs, where would they be on the field?
Okay, handicap. Where are the handicap seats? Let me see if I don't know if I can go backwards. So you're familiar with the. Oh, here we go.
There you go. You got it.
So that is the gold let's just use the blue side. It's better for the blue side. But I don't know if you recall, but at the top of the lower bowl, there's a handicap row at the very top of the lower bowl. And there's a ramp that goes up there. And there's only like one seat, a little bit of space, one seat, a little bit of space. So they will tell you that if you need handicap seating, sign up for it. That's part of the whole sign up for who needs handicap seating. But you're only going to be allowed one handicap and one escort. So you can't put all 10 people up in the handicap area. You're going to have one and one. And typically there's more demand than there are capability. And they just, the handicaps will be up underneath those at the top of the bowl area, and then up in the back. It's all flat in there. As long as you try to, it's not a brutally sunny day, you can use that back area.
They might have changed that this year, because when I did said no handicap seating tickets will be distributed. Wheelchair seating will be first come, first served basis.
Really?
Yes.
All right, we'll follow up with the school, make sure that gets put out there. It's that back area. It's not a bad area. It's open. You can see everything. They got the big displays back there. Wanting to sit right here is not that huge of an advantage because the displays are so big. All right. Paul's ready for raffles. Who's ready to win a prize?